Okay, so we will start now. It's an activity that breaks a bit the format of the previous talks. It's the perfect activity for before lunch. So in 45 minutes, we will be all eating. And maybe it will serve this talk to put a bit into perspective the previous talks. This roundtable wouldn't have been possible without the speakers who have generously and patiently shared their experiences and that are here with us today. Tracing their histories also means tracing the history of the center itself, and in many ways, the material science in Spain, especially in its formative years. Today, we are joined by the professors Enric Canadell, Elies Molins, Roig, Amparo Fuertes, and Pepe Vidal. Unfortunately, Clara Viñas has not been able to be here with us today, but she also participated in the preparation of this roundtable. So this year, 2026, the 4 material science centers in Spain are celebrating their 40th anniversary. This takes back to the mid-1980s, during Spain's transition to democracy, when the CSIC was being strengthened under the presidency of the historian Alejandro Nieto. The Material Science Mobilizer Program, Programa Movilizador de Ciencia de Materiales, laid the foundation for the 4 centers located in Madrid, Sevilla, Zaragoza, and the ICMAB in Barcelona. The initiative emerged within the growing field of material science and technology, an area closely linked to industrial and applied research, but institutionally, the interest in strengthening its fundamental scientific dimension was increasing. The creation of these 4 research centers was driven by several people. At a Spanish level, José María Serratosa played an important role. In Catalonia, Carles Miravillas began developing the project with the strong support of Jaume Casabó, who worked closely with Enric Trillas, who was then the president of the CSIC. And another key figure was Manuel Cardona, that we know for the library as well, the prominent Catalan physicist and founder of the Max Planck Institute of Solid-State Research, who chaired the first international advisory board of the center, as it was before mentioned by Xavier Obradors. And of course, there were all the researchers, technicians, and administrative staff who in these early years contributed with ideas, enthusiasm, and planted the seeds of what ICMAB is today. As stated in this first annual report from 1997 of the center that will be in the exhibition upstairs, written by Amparo Fuertes and Tonia Hernandez, who was first Carles Miravilla's secretary and then the librarian of the center. ICMAB's research aimed to focus on fundamental aspects of disciplines such as chemistry, physics, solid-state physics, crystallography, and thermodynamics, as well as experimental areas, including synthesis and materials characterization. But today we will explore how did ICMAB fit within this broad material science project in Spain, and what was its unique perspective, and how did it evolve over time to arrive where we are today. So over the next 45 minutes, we will explore the scientific evolution of ICMAB through the experiences of researchers who have witnessed many different stages of ICMAB's, of the Institute's development. And we will use Xavier Obrador's previous metaphor of ICMAB as a crystal with its phases of nucleation, coalescence, growth, and then the stabilization. And we will begin with the elements that compose this first stage of the center. In the nucleation phase of ICMAB, researchers from 2 groups at Jaume Almera, together with others from the Centro de Investigación en Desarrollo and the Autonomous University, came together under the ICMAB project. They brought with them different backgrounds, different levels of training, and also probably different expectations of what ICMAB could become. Still, they came together around a shared project, which was ICMAB, that brought together 41 permanent staff, with the ambition of eventually becoming a medium-sized research center of about 100 people. This was the initial aim. Elies Molins, together with Amparo Fuertes and Pepe Vidal, was part of the original ICMAB project presented to the CSIC in 1986. So I will start with you, Elies, now. Yes.
Thank you, Anna.
So Elies, you were the secretary in this initial project. What was the original vision for ICMAB?
Yes, I will talk for hours during the beginnings of the Institute. So to avoid this, I brought a text summarizing the most important ideas. I think that maybe this is only one sheet, but I think that this will cover the most important points. I can let to you if you are interested on the details, because I think that this is rather dense in some points. I say background, gestation, and childhood, maybe nucleation, a personal view. I could speak for hours about the exciting and at times highly stressful period between 85 and 91. So, first, neither material science nor biomedicine will exist without understanding how atoms are arranged, bonded, and structured. Carlos will say the same. The discovery of X-ray diffraction, therefore, opened the door of modern science. Röntgen discovered by chance X-rays, and Laue demonstrated the diffraction by crystals. Later, in Australia, a university professor became curious to see the bones of his son, who had broken his arm, using these newly discovered X-rays. That father and son later became the only father and son paired to receive Nobel Prizes in physics, the Braggs, father and son, William Henry Bragg and William Lawrence Bragg. In Spain, Pardillo at the University of Barcelona introduced X-ray crystallography, and Manuel Fonaltava created the Catalan School of Crystallography. So, at the end of the 70s, several members of the crystallography department of the University of Barcelona moved to the Institute Jaume Almera for geological research, created by the CSIC in the 65. In late 82, its new building in Pedralbes was inaugurated. Carlos Miravilles, together with his secretary, Toni Hernández, the geologist Felicia Plana and Adolf Traveria, and myself, recently awarded a CSIC fellowship while performing my PhD with Javier Tejada, occupied the first floor of the building. Carlos and I soon realized that our scientific interest did not fully coincide with those of the geologist, and we began to think about how to become more independent. So you know that the Catalans have the independency in our brain. Around that time, Jordi Rius joined the Social Security Institute after completing his PhD in Germany, and Amparo Fuertes started her PhD with Carlos in the 84. At that time, we got also the first single crystal X-ray diffractometer. Fortunately, and this is a very important word because fortune is a key point in a lot of moments, there was a remarkable political and scientific alignment. Alfredo Pérez Rubalcaba, Vice President of the government, Javier Solana, Ministry, Juan Rojo, Secretary of State, and Enric Trillas, President of the CSIC, and José María Serratosa, you mentioned, were all, this is all the chain in the government, from CSIC to the Vice President, were all either friends, physicists, or chemists, and they all played at that moment important roles in science policy. Carlos, who was politically very active in Madrid, first as president of the Association of Personal Investigador of CSIC, was member also of the government body of the CSIC, and later delegate of the CSIC, quickly recognized the opportunity. From 85 to 91, we had very extremely difficult years, but also years full of enthusiasm and hope.
And Elies, sorry to interrupt because we have to present everyone, but just in a sentence, so that this in these meetings that you had with Carles Miravillas, what did you expect ICMAB to grow to, or you were just going day to day trying to put together some people? How did you select people that you knew they were doing research similar to yours, or?
Yes, the idea of the material science is to find physicists and chemistry. So we look at the University of Barcelona, Autonomous University, Polytechnical, and CSIC. So we connect the groups that we had contacts with in physics, with Tejada, in Manuel Ballester, in the CSIC, where then the groups that become members of the institute, like Jaume Bessiana, Pepe Vidal, Concepció Rovira, and others. Okay. Also with the university. So at the beginning there were different groups, and so these were the list of people that at the beginning
you included in the project,
become members of the institute.
Okay, we'll come back to the rest later, I promise. But now I will introduce Pepe Vidal, who joined the ICMAB project in 1996, coming from the Centro de Investigación y Desarrollo, and Amparo Fuertes, that, as Elies mentioned, began her PhD research at Jaume Almera in 1994, before the creation of ICMAB, under the co-supervision of Carles Miravillas and Daniel Beltran from the University of Valencia. If you want to, yes. So how did your scientific background fit within the ICMAB project?
Well, well, already Elies explained a bit how was and he will,
continue.
Something here is short, and I will come back later. But anyway, I think that he's much more informed about all the situation as I was, or as I am, because he was with Carlos before I arrived to the institute, and he was a bit older than me. And then he will, he was already joining the team with Carlos as secretary of the institute and so on. He has a lot of information about this. My information is much more modest, but I don't know if the people would be interested in this, but you asked me, so I will do it. So yeah, it was a mixture of a lot of luck, an immense luck, and then some also determination and chance, a lot of opportunity. I mean, the moment was very opportune, as Elies started to say, because of this alignment of all this politics and so on and everything. Well, I was doing my PhD at the University of Valencia under the supervision of Daniel Beltran. I started this in 1983. And the topic was transition metal carboxylates, so kind of these modern MOFs, but with much more limited dimensionality, trimers or chains or something like this. And I had some crystals, I had grown some crystals, and I wanted to learn the methods to determine the crystal structure using single crystal X-ray diffraction. Valencia didn't have any diffractometer, any single crystal X-ray diffractometer. So I decided I had several options, and for several reasons, the School of Crystallography in Barcelona, the Catalan School of Crystallography, was very prestigious. Carlos, who Daniel knew, had this new diffractometer, as Elies mentioned. So I came here in 1984 with a couple of crystals, and this was my immense luck. It was meeting Carlos Miravillas at that time. I think that something, I suppose that a lot of people can say that he had luck for meeting Carlos for several reasons. I think that he helped us help a lot of people in many cases. Then, everything went very well. Elies helped me, and he was also running the first programs. He told me that they didn't have even a computer before, so I arrived in the right moment in September of or so in 1984, and after 2 months the structures were solved. And whereas I was here, the call of FPI fellowships that were very scarce at that moment. In Valencia, there were only kind of 27 for all the specialities in the city, so that they were really very few. And Carlos suggested me to apply with him for a fellowship of FPI in the CSIC by doing the thesis co-supervised by him in the crystallography part and by Daniel in the chemistry part. And I agreed. I had the fellowship. I finished my thesis in 1986, just 2 years after I arrived. Well, I started it in 1983. And then, well, that same year that the institute was created, there was a lot of chance and opportunities of positions. I mean, that was great. And after 2 years, more or less, in 1988, I accessed a position of a tenure scientist.
Say this to the young ones.
Please, that was the moment. I mean, this is why I said that it was a kind of, I will say, will not be repeated again, but maybe yes, I don't know. And that was, and that's for the creation of the institute, a lot of people was needed. Carlos wanted to create a solid state group.
Yeah, chances and opportunities, it goes like this. And Pepe, you were...
We should remember it was a very important moment for the science. It was the Socialist Party entering the government, and there was an explosion due to this planet alignment. That in a certain moment there were 10,000 scholarships on science.
From 27, you said, no? From 27 a year to...
So I think that now we continue living thanks to this push at the moment.
Okay, and Pepe, how did you move to ICMAB from your previous research in CID?
Very, very brief explanation.
Thanks.
As Elias said, when the ICMAB was created, we were in the Ballester group in the CID. And in that time, we decided that one part of the group joined the ICMAB to form that what was then the Organic Materials Laboratory. We say Organic Materials Laboratory. Thus, in 1991, exactly with the building inauguration, Jaume Beciana, Concepción Rovira, and myself, with 4 predoctoral students, Nora Ventosa, Jordi Bosch, Zurita Dres, and Esteve Hernández, we start the beginning of the current nanomole research unit that we have now here, okay? And only our background was in organic chemistry mainly, also in physical chemistry, some chemical engineering, and in particular in free radicals altogether. So the Organic Materials Laboratory, we focus on the magnetic and electrical properties of new molecular materials, mainly based in organic radicals, like the prototype of organic radical made in the Ballester group, the PTM, no? The polyperchlorotriphenyl methyl radical. Okay, so that's all.
Okay, and Anna and Enric, you joined the ICMAB already when it was in this building in 1992 and 1994 respectively. Your story, Anna, is a funny story of how you arrived to ICMAB. So if you want to explain.
I don't know, it's funny. Yeah, this was 1987. I was in Boston. I was doing a master degree there. My supervisor sent me to very, very small workshop organized by Nature on high TC superconductors. I went there, I didn't understand anything, but in the board, there was a business card directed to me from someone called Carlos Piravillas, director. That interests me a lot. And he said, I am flying tomorrow, but if today you are here, we can meet. Because, I mean, he picked me because of the Catalan name. They were the only 2 Catalan names on that list of 50 persons. So we couldn't meet then, so I almost met him, but I kept his card, director, that was important. And in 1992, after many things happened to me, I was job hunting very intensively, and I took that card then and many others. So I wrote to him, and he got me the opportunity to start at the ICMAB. So he dumped me in Elias' desk. So I did the PhD with Elies on Mossbauer spectroscopy of iron compounds, and then I started working with nanoparticles. So probably was the first thesis of nanotechnology, I guess, and that's the story.
And you, Enric, where did you come from?
Well, to be honest, I don't know very much why I came here. And this was a good occasion, this round table, to think about this. Because usually when I have to take some important decision, I don't like to think very much. It's intuition. Around the 80s, I had left Spain, and I had promised myself that I will never come back. So you can see that I'm a person with strong ideas. The thing is that around, I think it was 1992, one day I was coming to visit my family, and walking the Paseo de Gracia, I found a very good friend, which was the late Albert Figueras, which is someone that was very important for this institute, and this is why I mentioned him. So he said to me, why don't you go to give a seminar at the ICMAB? Well, okay, if you invite me, I will come. So I came, I stayed 3 days, or 3 days, I think, yes. I gave a seminar. Probably some people maybe reminds this. And after the seminar, Miravilles and Jaume Casbot took me to the Casablanca in Sant Cugat. And in the middle of the restaurant, and in the middle of the lunch, they said to me, why don't you come here? I said, well, why should I come here? If you offer me something, and I said, well, you can be a research professor. I said, first I said no, because and then about 2 years later, there was several things happened in my life, and I said, well, why not? The important thing here is not this, because this is just anecdotes. The important thing is that when I came the first time, and I remember perfectly, when I entered the ICMAB, there was Albert and Santiso, you will remember me, mounting the chemical vapor deposition there. Everything was work in progress at that time. But what I really could see is that there was a lot of enthusiasm and the hope to create some new thing. And I think this is what I had already created a group in Paris. So I said, maybe it's time to start again and create a new group. This was at the same time that the International Committee for the Material Science Institutes had advised the creation of a theory group in this institute. So everything came together. So, well, then I came. In '94, I stayed 2 years. 2 years, the CNRS gave me a 2-year sabbatical to try, if I like it, to go out the CNRS. So you can see that the institutions have changed a lot. And well, I came and I stayed. That's all.
Now we will talk about your first years in the institute, because now the initial seeds of the institute are clear for everyone. And now we will see how they define the scientific identity of ICMAB, and how the research evolved from here. At that point, before coming to the building, ICMAB was still distributed in several offices in Jaume Almera, CID, Autónoma, etc. But having special infrastructure for ICMAB was, their own infrastructure and equipment was necessary to be able to develop your own lines of research. So a big turning point was in 1991, when ICMAB moved to its own building, which is this building. And each of you came from theoretical groups, chemistry groups, physics groups. And I wonder how coming together in the same institute changed the way you worked and interacted. And for example, how did this physics and chemists group merged within this broader material science field in the early years of ICMAB. For example, you, Enric, that you said you were coming from a theoretical group, no? How did you join the activity in the center?
Oh, at that time, things were very different. So I remember there was not the third floor. And the second floor, I remember the Friday afternoon, we used to meet all the chemists and to talk about things. Usually we were criticizing physicists because they were at the other side, isn't it? But yes. But you can see that I think we meet all together. So the things are very different. So it was very easy to start collaborations because we were talking every day. We were few people, and I think more or less every one of us, even in my case that I had been outside for about 17 years, I knew very well most of the people. So it was easy to create, start things. And in addition, these were very exciting years because I think 90s, I think it was the period where the European Union started to have all these programs to create collaborations, and all these years there was, I don't know, even if you didn't want to work, you had to work because the ambient was that way. So it's at least in my case, this was the reason why I like it to be in this institute.
The importance of the building, the infrastructure, also the global and national context have appeared as important elements in which ICMAB was built. How about the scientific breakthroughs and trends of these years? So the initial project had two research units. Each brought together several laboratories. One was on crystal synthesis and growth, and the other one on material characterizations. But from those, how did ICMAB research evolve over the years? What scientific breakthroughs, trends, discoveries have started shaping ICMAB's research evolution?
Yeah, I think one that maybe we can highlight is nanotechnology. So around the 2000, it has been a new field, meaning new opportunities for funding. So we jumped there, as we always do. So then it was the time where and the European Commission, it was created a section within materials of nanotechnology. And the ICMAB had a representative there with Albert Figueras. Also was the time within the UAB was the first grade on nanoscience and nanotechnology in Spain. And the time later on when the Institute of Nanoscience and Nanotechnology was created, also spurred by the initiative coming from the ICMAB. So I think that is a turning point that we could mention.
Also talking with Teresa before about it's also 40 years of high temperature superconductors.
Yeah, in fact, this is what I was going to say, that for me, high temperature superconductivity, that now is a powerful research line of the Institute that had a strong influence on the beginning on the research lines of the Institute. Carlos was very, very excited about that, very interested in this topic. In fact, the coincidence is that the same year that the Institute was created, in 1986, Bednorth and Muller published the first paper in Sacred for Physics B on the superconductivity at 40 Kelvin. No, it's about 40 Kelvin. Okay, so it was in lanthanum barium cuprate. The 40 was with strontium, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so that was, and 1 year after that, they received the Nobel Prize in Physics. So that was something that had an enormous influence on the science, of material science in Spain, along Spain and along the world. I mean, that was in the people, in chemists and in physicists. So then we worked together on this. There is a line, a research line in this first report of the Institute that is from 1986 to 1989, and where Xavier, Carlos, I, myself, and then Jordi Rius also, a lot of people, Salvador Piñol, I think it is in the same research line, and a project that was granted from the Ministry of Education that Carlos led the sub-project of the Almera or the ICMAB. I don't remember now. Probably that was the ICMAB when he was applied for. And then I think that Xavier was in the sub-project of the UB together with Pep Foncuberta also, and in Madrid in the Complutense, Marita Vallet and José González Calvet. This, I mean, make that we worked together, and I mean, the resources were quite low. We didn't have furnaces, or with this project, we started to buy the first furnaces. And I remember that sometimes we went to Grenoble, Xavier and I, to do some synthesis under a French-Spanish project, to do synthesis in the Laboratoire de Cristallographie, because we didn't have furnaces here. So, but then we published some nice papers together. And I mean, Carlos was also very interested, as I said before, in having a group of solid-state chemists in the Institute, and this was the origin of the department of the solid-state chemistry laboratory that further was evolved, the research line evolved to other, like nanomaterials, batteries, of course, but nanomaterials and battery materials, and then carbon nanotubes, and now is even now MOFs and catalysis. So these are the present research lines of the Institute. So not high TC superconductivity in principle, and nitrides, of course. So that was a bit the origin of the laboratory and the evolution. But I think that we follow a bit the trends of immaterial science around the world. I mean, also dictated by the European Union and so on. So that was not.
So now you talked about scientific collaborations, but there were also more, even though the center was focused on doing fundamental science research, you also had industrial collaborations, and then you started with the world of spin-offs that were important, that shaped also the way that the Institute evolved. For example, the history that for sure everyone wants to know about carburos metálicos, no, mad gas. What were the initial collaborations with mad gas that allowed ICMAB to expand the years after?
Well, this is another story. So the relationship, as most of the collaborations initiate with personal contacts and even friendly and friendship. So Joan Llibre, an exceptional person that was vice president of research and development of carburos metálicos, we had a very good friendship finally, and with Carlos and other, and he was like a mecenas, not only of the institute, but even in some groups in the university. So, and this was a very nice collaboration, and we started with trying to find something that we may be of common interest. There was the question of supercritical fluids. So we find this topic, and then we create the mixed laboratory, or the common laboratory, or the joint laboratory of supercritical fluids that was at the corner of the building in the ground floor. And they install all the equipment, even they put an engineer. And we start looking in the institute, and we try to imagine how can we take advantage of this facility. So in my case, I discovered that aerogels were produced by supercritical drying. So I asked for a project for aerogels, or Jaume Bessiana, and then this gives rise later to Delos process, to Nora Ventosa came here, nanomole. So this, the story is long. And this laboratory was a success story, and then that's become later to MadGas. MadGas, I have to secretly say that everyone knows that will be an expansion of the institute. So at the beginning was from property of not full property of the company, but the idea was in fact a secret expansion of the institute that finally it's becoming a reality.
You probably will remember that the obsession of Carlos when we were writing the rules for the MacGas was to put something there that was saying that if the collaboration was broken, the building was for ICMAB. This was his great worry.
Yeah, it was so nice to create the institute. It was stressing but nice that MadGas was an idea, the Nanoscience Institute, but also with some problems. And we always had the idea of create an Institute of Biophysics, but this will never happen.
Pepe, do you want to add something to this story?
Yes, no, from the point of view of the organic people, MadGas was one of the important points in to explain the evolution of the research that we made in nanomole. Because well, with the funded MadGas in 2001, no, more or less, we see the opportunity to use the supercritical CO2 to obtain nanoparticles or nanovesicles, and this became to change our vision of related to the biomedical applications. So the other key point was the integration in 2008 or 9 in CyberBBN. The Cyber is the Biomedical Research Center on Bioengineering, Biomaterials and Nanomedicine from the Institute Carlos III, and was the definitive way of the looking for new applications in biomedical problems, no? And it was the normal evolution of the nanomole group mainly. And this was all about the creation together with other groups of the ICMAB and the new research lines in materials for health that we have now. Okay, so
very shortly. I only remember the stress of MadGas. I was vice director there, and was the first time I ever attended executive board, where I was a representative without vote or voice. So I was there with the president of the CSIC, the president of Air Products, the president of MadGas, and they always agree on everything. And I had this big list of problems that I never had the chance to get them publicly. So yeah, it seems like a happy story now, but Xavi and I, we spent few nights without sleeping because of that.
Okay, so we will be closing now. We can continue during lunchtime to remember some of these stories, but already some key elements have emerged in this short conversation, and even though there have emerged some things that shape this scientific journey, like material resources, the broader global context, and collaborations, at the center of it, there are the people who make science. So the personal stories end up shaping this scientific project of ICMAB. And there are many individuals, so there is this tension between the need for collaboration and as well, and many individual efforts and personal stories. So now, to end with the table, I will give 1 minute to all of you, just 1 minute, to answer one last question, and if you want to add anything else. So what do you think from your broad perspective that ICMAB has gained over the years that future researchers should preserve and expand?
I don't know. Maybe they gave me this because I'm the older. Eh? Well, if I have to give some advice, no one will agree with me because I have a theory is that people do innovative things when it's very young. After 40, you are dead. This is my theory. I'm not saying that after 40, you're not a good scientist, but you do good work, but not innovative things because you know too much your field. You become conservative. So I think every group leader should locate the guy who is really able to do some innovative thing, someone that doesn't care for what other people think. You just do. And then he has to have a group of people that do what this guy is proposing, because usually very innovative people never finish the projects. And you need all these people that they will do, those who are after 40, that will do the job very well. So I think although in this country, it's not in our ADN to give the power to the young, I think this is what it should be done.
So I will let this for those who are interested on. But regarding the question, I think that this is to be a little bit provocative. I think that the big challenge now is to incorporate artificial science in material science, artificial intelligence in material science. I think that this is a big challenge, is a big opportunity, and I think that we have to think deeply on this point. As probably will be my last words, but I cannot finish without remembering Albert Figueres, Salvador Pinyol, and Carlos Miravilles that today cannot be with us. And a sentence about Carlos. The talent and charisma emanating from Carlos' personality were and are universally recognized as essential to the successful beginnings of the ICMAB.
Thanks, Elias. Nice. I wrote 3 points here for these final questions. They are not related to science, but I think they are related to the DNA of the center. And I think one aspect is the ICMAB always had a female leadership that it seems very natural to us, but is not natural in other contexts and institutes. And I think this have prime definite character to the center. I'm not talking only scientific leadership. I'm talking about old structure of the ICMAB, where this female companionship, but also drive, has been very present. Another characteristic that the ICMAB has is that I see Benja that is laughing, but we can discuss it later. Another characteristic that I think ICMAB has is that we still, even though we are very big, we still act as a big family. And this happened when the scientific committees here, they see us united and in a single voice, which obviously not true, because I mean, we fight like everywhere else and we like to criticize each other like everywhere else, but we are able to have a single voice in important moments. And I think this should be kept and it's very important. And another thing we have, and this probably is Xavier who has taught us, is resilience. I mean, you shouldn't put me in any other Severo Ochoa because in all the ones I participated, they were not granted. They were only granted after I was not so much involved, but Xavier has this infinite resilience. So you tell him, maybe we shouldn't write it this year. And he said, yeah, we should. I mean, we deserve it. So, okay. So I think this is a nice point of the Institute. But the most important is that we should still keep a high scientific ambition and scientific curiosity, because without that, we're not going anywhere.
Well, I would like to emphasize an aspect that is the collaborations, the internal collaborations of ICMAB. I mean, people, the personal relationships, to be surrounded by people who you trust and you, I mean, not only scientifically, but personally, I mean, is something absolutely important to. It has been perhaps one of the most important things to choose well your collaborations, to choose well the people that you have around. And I think that at ICMAB we have an excellent opportunity for that, because it's a very interdisciplinary institute with a lot of research lines that may be a disadvantage sometimes to get space or whatever. But on the other hand, you have a lot of people with different profiles and specialities, and the internal collaborations are absolutely important. It has been very much for me to collaborate with physicists, with a group of physicists that I needed to understand the properties of the materials that I prepared. And I think that I enjoy very much the meetings, and I hope the people enjoy also and the discussions. And I think that ICMAB has a great opportunity to do this. So this should be kept and emphasized and promoted, although I know it is promoted already, but just to show that.
Okay, I agree with all the things that all of you said. I think it's important preserving this feeling of family that Anna said, no? In order to collaborate, in order to came to work happy, no? Here. And I think one important thing to preserve is the quality of doctoral training, because when the institute grow too much, sometimes some things are diffused. No? I think it's very important to maintain the quality doctoral training, because we have a high quality scientific environment, and in a good training is fundamental for not only for the professional development of the students, of the people who made the PhD here, but also for our visibility and our recognition in Spain or in the world. So this is very important. And I have only some notes related with this, the importance of the ICMAB in the training of doctoral students. It can be illustrated because I say that at the beginning, 30 years ago, we came in here, Jaume, Concepción, and myself, with 4 PhD students, okay? So these 4 PhD students first was Nora Ventosa. She developed her successful research here with us. Everybody knows Nora. And now is currently the CIO of Delvios Pharmaceutical, the latest spin-off created here in Nanomol. This is one of the possibilities. The other possibility is to go out to the industry, for example. The other 2 cases the same. Jordi Box has worked in a very important company, Medichem, a very important chemist company here in Spain, and currently runs a consulting firm, Stira Consulting. Judith Tarrés has worked in the field of quality control at Almiral at ISDIN and other important industries in Catalonia, and currently is the quality control manager at CAM Group in Melbourne, Australia. And the last one, Esteve Hernandez, I remember his seminars as a very educational talks, fantastic. And he is a teacher in La Salle Bonanova School, one of the best private schools in Barcelona. So it's a very different evolution of the people, very, very different, but they all have in common an excellent scientific training during their thesis here. Okay, so please, it's important to maintain this. So that's all.
I think these last words perfectly illustrate what's in the basis of excellent scientific research institutions. So I will just end by thanking all of you for being here, and also once again to the speakers for letting us better understand the ICMAB, the history of ICMAB, and also its spirit. And yeah, to give us elements to think of the future ICMAB. So thank you very much.